I don't have anything written down at all, but I suppose I'm one of the people that didn't think it would happen to me, or didn't think it would happen to my family. A few months, well actually 23 weeks this week, my brother ended up in Roslea with gallstones, something quite simple, and he spent 2.5 days sitting on one of the red chairs in A&E. He went what he was told was the fastest route, which was by ambulance to the A&E department in Roslea. For 2.5 days, they weren't able to get him a bed. He didn't have a cot to lie on. He sat in a chair. He developed pancreatitis. He got a bed eventually, and he was there from the 1st of March until the 3rd of March. And at 5:30 in the afternoon, he got a bed in Ward 32. He lasted in that bed for approximately 8 hours when he landed in ICU, where he's now spent the last 22 weeks with necrotizing pancreatitis. They had diagnosed pancreatitis on the Sunday, and 24 hours later he was still sitting in a chair in A&E. And when the consultant went to speak to the powers that be that allocate the beds, they said, everybody's an emergency, he's not any different. So he was transferred from ICU he spent a week. After 3 weeks in ICU, he was transferred back to Ward 32, where the staff were completely overwhelmed. They weren't able to, there was one person in Roslea who could put a drain into his stomach to help him to breathe. That person went home for the weekend, and he was left in his bed, pleading with us to contact anybody who could help him to breathe. The consultant, or the senior consultant in the hospital, called in a favour, basically, to get somebody to do that job for him. The city hospital in Belfast, who have the specialised pancreas team, weren't able to take him because apparently he wasn't critical enough. Although the consultant there at the time said that he wasn't, he was critical enough to be in ICU, but Roslea was overwhelmed that weekend, which was the 23rd of March, and there were no beds in ICU, and there continued to be no beds in ICU for the next 4 days. On the 27th of March, we received a phone call to say that he was going on a ventilator and on dialysis, and that he may not make it for us. Could we get there immediately? Well, we live in Roslea, and immediately it's 2.5 hours. And they say to us, we'll try and keep him off the ventilator so you can say some words to him before he goes, because he may not make it. The following day, he was critical enough then to be transferred to Belfast City Hospital, where he currently has been for the last 18 weeks, week 19 this week. Still on a ventilator, still in ICU, now with necrotizing pancreatitis. No sign at all of him even being ready to go to a ward. Still critical, still one bleed away from dying. When he arrived in the city hospital, not only did he have, was his kidneys failing, did he have necrotizing pancreatitis, was his body bloated beyond recognition with fluid, but he also had sepsis, and he also had bed sores from lying because their staff in Ward 32 were too overwhelmed. So this is the reality of what we are putting ourselves through. I had somebody say to me last week, why is it your problem? Why do you have to go up and tell your story? Because my story could be anybody's story. My story could be the wee 2-year-old who falls and cuts themselves and ends up with sepsis. My story could be the wee 18-year-old doing his first car who hits a deer outside 5 Mile Town. My story could be anybody's story.